I do not believe this, guys. I'm actually interviewing Katie Britt. Wow, I don't know what we did to score, but we hit a home run with this. We have the most outstanding young up and coming leader in the state of Alabama and maybe beyond. There she is. How are you, Katie?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for your kind and overly generous words. I am thrilled to be with you. So thank you for letting me be on today.
You are amazing. That's what you are. I'm so glad that you gave us some time. Thank you. We're very, very appreciative of it. And I know you're a very, very busy leader, but my goodness, you have such a plethora of experience and knowledge, and so we want to get to know you. You know, we want to get to know what makes Katie Britt tick. How in the world at such a young age have you accomplished so much? I mean, you know, and what you have seen and experienced, very, very few people have. So I just want to take us back and let's talk about this crossing the line thing, and because you're a leader that leads with your head and your heart and your incredible people skills, and it's just an amazing thing to see you, watch you, and see how effective you are. But I know that didn't just happen by osmosis. A lot of hard work went into that, right?
That's it. Well, yes. A lot of stories leading up to where we are today. That's for sure.
So let's go there. Let's go back. Enterprise, Alabama. Were you raised there? Tell us who were you?
Born and raised. And Larry, that is one of the things I am most proud of, is being from Enterprise. Just, you know, small town in South Alabama, but to me, the kind of people that Enterprise produces is something that she can always be proud of. So it's certainly something that I feel like has been a defining portion of making me who I am.
So let's go back to when you were a child. What was it like in your home growing up? Did you have siblings? Kind of walk us through as a young child. What was it like?
Absolutely. Well, first, and let me say this too about Enterprise. I do think it teaches you a couple of things, and that was to keep your head down and work hard, to value diversity and everyone having a seat at the table, and keeping your word. That is something that if you didn't do an Enterprise, if you say you're going to do something, then you're going to do it. And if you don't, then your mama or somebody else's mama will snatch you up. So good things to learn just right off the bat. And obviously, something, like I mentioned, that I'm very proud of. But as far as my home, I am the oldest of 4 girls. So I think that created from a very early age just the opportunity for leadership and compassion and seeing things through other people's eyes. I will tell you, my sisters are all very special people and are my very best friends. And I'll tell you, in the uniqueness in that, you see different people's strengths and different things they go through. And that was something I think that really helped shape me in the way that I see various things. Also, when you're oldest of 4 girls, there are no gender specific roles. So you learn real quick to load the car and to mow the grass and to do those kinds of things, to go fishing with dad and, to work at his store. So my parents were both small business owners. Both of them, owned their own business. And with that comes a lot of hard work and ebbs and flows and, just so many things that you get to see firsthand when your parents are working hard to provide in that way.
I'm sure. I want to ask you a question, though. I'm going to jump in because we have to go back and clarify this. So you said you were the oldest of 4 girls, and that gave you an opportunity to have leadership. But if I were to ask your sisters, would they say that's leadership or being bossy?
Believe it or not, you would be interested to see this, and I would welcome you asking them. We have a really unique relationship. So, and I have learned that it is not one that all siblings share. And that is a genuine love and affection. Now, I am not telling you that there aren't days where we can all get a little testy with each other, but I assumed that everyone's household was like ours, where we really had each other's back. And, I was a senior when my sister was in 10th grade, and I'd always take her along with whatever it is we did. And that kind of continued with all of us. So interestingly enough, I wish that I could give you a little bit more on that, but we genuinely have each other's back, and sometimes they boss me much better than I boss them.
Listen, they're going to hear that, and it's going to be interesting to see what they have to say about that. That is beautiful. That is
no, and I'll tell you, we learn so much from each other. I mean, for instance, my youngest sister, like her walk with the Lord is just truly incredible, and she continues to inspire, all of us, all the other three, in how she conducts herself, and just continues to grow in that way. So again, we all learn from each other, and I wish it was a little bit more, but we really have each other's back.
No, that's beautiful. That's the way it ought to be. And kudos to your mom and dad for setting that culture and teaching you that. And you said they were small business owners, and you actually worked in the store. Talk about that a bit.
Yeah, so my dad was a third generation business owner. So my great grandfather started the hardware business there in Enterprise, and then my grandfather to follow, and then they started the marina, so the boat dealership. So when I was little, I would have to go in and I'd work in the summers, and again, kind of in that non-gender specific role, they'd send me in there to do inventory in the hardware department, so counting nuts and bolts, and and then sweeping the floor back there after they had finished rigging boats, and just rolling our sleeves up. And then every now and then, if someone were absent from work, I would get to answer the phones. Boyd's Marine, how may I direct your call? So yes, so good stuff there. And then as I got a little bit older, my mom owned the dance studio, and so that obviously became the after school job when I didn't have activities that I was involved in, and I taught dancing to young girls, and so kind of full circle, but always working.
So you talk about well-rounded. Let's see, now you counted nuts and bolts in a hardware store and in a boat dealership and swept the floor, and then you taught dance. Is that right?
That's right. That's right. My dad is a big believer that you should know every aspect of a business, and that you should put yourself in those shoes and figure out, what can be done better, and what it takes to do that job. And so no nepotism. You start right there.
Love it. I always like to hear this. I want you to go back and just give me a day in the life of Katie as a 10-year-old or 11-year-old, a day in the life of Katie as a young child. What would it comprise of? What would you do?
So obviously in school, I was fortunate to be in the gifted program, and so would do those. We'd go to those classrooms probably, I guess, once a week. They would bus you there. So depending on what day it was, we would do those things. But went to school at Hillcrest Elementary, which was I'm really proud to be a public school kid, like super proud to be a public school kid. And Hillcrest was just such a unique environment. The diversity that was there at Hillcrest really helped shape a lot of the way that I view things. Also had the special education program that was housed there at Hillcrest. So you got to see you had a lot of hands-on experience with people who were different from you, being inside your classroom and learning and growing through that. After school though, my mom would pick us up, and we had a huge Suburban, and we'd all pile in and head to the dance studio, and get there and be there until late at night, and even at an early age, and everything from ballet, tap, jazz, the whole works, and then get home and eat some supper, which now I think about how late it was, and then do homework and go to bed and do it all over again. So even at an early age, we had, even on Saturdays and sometimes Sunday afternoons after church, would be in the studio. So, and then on Sundays we get to go over to my grandparents' house. I'm really fortunate that I had both sets of grandparents for the majority of my growing up years in Enterprise, and a lot of my family. So we'd go over on Sunday mornings to my Papa, Mama's house, and Papa, his mother. So my great grandmother had started the church there, and so he was very into making sure that while my grandmother cooked breakfast, that we recited our Bible verses and we had done what we were supposed to, and we were ready for Sunday school. And then that afternoon, on Sunday afternoons, we'd go out to the farm and pick leaves and press them and go fishing and catch frogs and all kinds of fun stuff. And snipe. I don't know if you've ever had snipe, but at night, looking for it.
Yeah.
My older cousins would always, it took us a while before we figured out that wasn't real.
It sounds
good
like
stuff.
a wonderful childhood that you had, and probably, unfortunately, a fairly rare experience today. But going out and playing at the farm and in the woods and going fishing, and, I just love that, and I think I just saw that in your eye that your papa and your grandmother, they meant a lot to you, didn't they?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'll tell you, Papa and Mama, and then both my granddaddy and my grandmother, I mean, just good people. And, having integrity in what you do and looking for opportunities to make things around you better. And, it doesn't matter where you come from, it matters how you conduct yourself. And you might not live on this street or that street, they'd always tell me, but that doesn't define you. What defines you is the way you carry yourself, how you treat people, and what you do to make a difference in other people's lives. And still work really hard to make them proud in that aspect.
Katie, it was amazing to hear you say those powerful words, and I noticed that you changed tenses from the past, what they taught you, to what you brought into the future, to the present, to what you're doing right now. And when you were saying that, and they had a huge impact on who you are today, huh?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So you had that kind of ingrained in you, and then you began to hit adolescence, and here we go into high school, middle school, high school. Who was in those days? Who were you then?
Well, I'll tell you, I'll have to speak a little bit about my parents, my dad. Everyone's always like, 4 girls, poor man. I'm like, well, no, it's actually poor mom, because we were the very best version of ourselves for our father, and our mom had to deal with all the things that we had going on and getting us everywhere and dealing with all of that. But it's funny because he taught me a tremendous amount, again, about, work ethic and just business acumen and, the way you conduct yourself. And my mom, very much tough love. Now they call her stone cold, because she doesn't take anything from anybody. And we joke you could climb Mount Everest, and she would say, well, I think you could have done it a little faster. So nothing got by her. And she always, made sure that we worked to achieve what we were capable of. And so, you may be capable of something, but if you don't put in the hard work, you won't achieve that. And she made sure that each of us, and again, going back to what we said earlier, all 4 of us are very different, but that we were the best version of ourselves.
So she knew how to have that tough love.
She sure did. She sure did. And I'm sorry, you asked about high school. So I will tell you then, kind of splitting my time between still dancing and cheering. So was cheering, and I know that we mentioned it earlier, but National Cheerleader of the Year, and worked through captain of the cheerleading squad and fun stuff like that. But also at the same time, went to Girls State, and that's where I actually kind of opened my eyes. I thought that I wanted to be an otolaryngologist, and I had my Uncle Mike is an ENT, and loved watching him. And I would, when I could, I would go shadow him when there was time permitting. And so I felt like that's what I wanted to do. He's just a wonderful Christian man and brilliant, and he does so much for the community. And it was something I certainly wanted to emulate. But then went to Girls State in high school, and unexpectedly, I had flown in from somewhere, and, we got in the car and headed down there in that big old Suburban, and was really intimidated when I got there, because being from a smaller town, being from Enterprise, and seeing, young women from Mountain Brook and Montgomery and Huntsville and Mobile, it was easy to kind of sort of let that get in my head. But my mom had said, well, you need to run for something. You got to learn something. And and I ran for Girls State Governor, and that worked out. And so got to spend the day in the governor's office and really kind of sort of changed my perception about government and about what you can do to make a difference and how you can go about doing that.
Wow. So you were a girl state governor.
I was, and I will, yeah.
That's
Who
where
knew?
your
Who knew?
yeah, that's where you started. That's where it all started, right? So
It really is. I did not have, yeah, it really is. I went around before I went and sat down with judges and attorneys and, and just businessmen and women and asked questions about, things that were going on and laws that were, and I thought, there's something to this. So.
that's amazing. So you go through high school and by the way, what National Cheerleader of the Year and think amazing things that you have accomplished. Where did you find, even through high school, where did this drive come from? Okay.
Oh, goodness gracious. I think it goes back to family and really just, my parents would always say, you don't have to be the best. You just have to be your best. And so I think sometimes when you focus on being your best and not comparing yourself to others and not, which is challenging. I mean, I even mentioned it like the moment we pulled up at Girls State, being intimidated by those things. But I think if you can refocus that energy on fine tuning the things you can control, which is yourself and, your discipline and the things you focus on, a lot of times you'll be surprised at the outcome.
That's amazing. And so here we go to Alabama. Now
That's right.
You went to the University of Alabama. Any aspirations there that one day you would be the president of the SGA at Alabama?
No. So let me tell you, I mentioned the cheerleading earlier to set the stage for you on this one because I wanted to be a cheerleader. Really, I thought, that's what I want to do and felt like it was what I was supposed to do. Having been National Cheerleader of the Year, I felt like that was what I was supposed to do. And I went and I didn't make it. And then I thought, well, I'm going to be a capstone woman. I really, I'm going to walk backwards. I'm going to give tours. I'm going to, be an ambassador for the president. And I didn't make it. I was the alternate. I was the second alternate. My good friend Amber was the first alternate. And so and then I ran for freshman 4 on president, didn't get it. I mean, it kind of was a series of nope.
Wow.
And did some real soul searching. And then interestingly enough, that is when I decided to get involved with SGA and really kind of poured myself into that experience. Luckily, I they pulled 2 of the alternates on to Capstone Men and Women. So I got to serve on Capstone Men and Women after probably about half the year. So that was wonderful and thought, check. Excited, kind of moving in the right direction. So I was a SGA senator. Then decided to run for SGA Vice President of Student Affairs. And I will never forget. So we went and we had to debate. And of course, you're kind of nervous about being up in front of your peers in that way. I mean, particularly in a college setting. And I finished, and a good friend of mine said to me, he said, "It is too bad." And I said, what's too bad? And he said, well, no, I mean, you're really good. And I mean, you've got a passion for this stuff and you're good. And I said, well, I appreciate it, but now wait, what's too bad? Like, let's rewind. What's too bad? And he said, well, it's just too bad you won't go any further. And I said, well, why won't I go any further? And he said, well, because you're a girl. And I thought, game on. So it was not until that moment, I kid you not, that I was like, we're going to do this. So I did not go to Alabama wanting to be SGA president. The good Lord has plans for us that we often do not have for ourselves, and closed several doors. Otherwise, I would have never tried to open this one. And then ended up running for SGA president and serving in that capacity. And it was certainly just an incredible experience.
So that is an incredible experience. I love the story. I want to take you back to those failures for just a minute. Didn't make cheerleader, didn't make capstone at first, didn't make freshman form. What did that do to you? How did you handle that struggle? How did you come through that struggle? Talk to us about that.
It was really hard. I'll be honest with you, just to try to remain focused on what was possible and not what was at the time. It was challenging to try to find my place. You know, I mentioned earlier kind of the level of, you know, even going to Girls State and there kind of being these big city people. Here I was at the University of Alabama. My father had graduated from Troy. My mother had worked directly after high school and didn't have the opportunity to go to college. This was a unique experience for me, and one too where, you know, being from a smaller town and not knowing everybody and then feeling like maybe it's too big or maybe I'm not good enough. So I think you have to just, my mom was wonderful through all that, and just, you know, you have to rely on your faith, and when you struggle, and also just redirecting that negative energy to realizing that failures don't define you, it's how you respond to them that ultimately does. And sometimes it gets a little old telling yourself that over and over again, but eventually it's really those experiences that help you ultimately achieve what it is that you need to, because you learn so much through failure and so much through getting it wrong. If you're honest with yourself and you take a step back and you truly reflect instead of trying to kind of deflect, if you reflect, there's just a tremendous amount that you can learn, and I'm better for all of them.
Where in the world did you get this wisdom? That's amazing.
No, you were being kind. You saw me trying to start my computer earlier, so
Listen, that's a whole different set of issues in and of itself. Technology is wonderful when it works. You said reflect instead of deflect. What, I love that. That's an incredible insight for us. I want us to go back up. Let's go back up to your friend who said you'll never go any further because you're
never go any further.
What went on inside of you when he said that?
It's cemented in there, I promise you.
Yes. So when he said that, tell me what happened inside of you when he said that.
You know, you kind of have that reaction where you think to yourself, did they say that out? Did they say that out loud? Did they mean to say that out loud? And then knowing him, you know, truly some of the things people say to you, they're coming from a good place, but it's not, they're not delivered in that way. But it really made me think, well, why not? And I thought, I'm gonna make it to where if somebody else ends up SGA president, it's not going to be because I didn't do everything possible to show that I was the best person for the job.
So were you the first female SGA president?
I was not. I think I was probably number 3 or 4. I think there was one in a time of 4, so I think I was 4.
So when he said that, you went right back to the shop where you were, you know, counting nuts and bolts and doing whatever it took. There was no gender involved in that, right?
That's exactly right.
Get the job done, whatever it took.
That's exactly right. And I think my parents have always told me, and I've got a first grade teacher that I will never forget when I was serving popcorn in her class for, you know, when you brought in your quarter, that said, don't ever let anyone tell you that you can't do something or you can't be something. So sometimes you just have to remind yourself of those words of wisdom of people before you.
I love it. And through this process, you met a treasure in your life and married him, and now you have 2 more treasures. Tell us about your family.
Yes. So my husband, Wesley, is just incredible. He was the first person I met at Alabama. So met him at orientation. Remember the tough love I told you about my mom? She sent me by myself. My dad wanted to go with us. My mom was like, nope, she's got to do it on her own. If she's going to do honors and sorority and she's got to go, and she's got to do this all on her own. So I sat at orientation by myself, didn't know anyone. And luckily someone that I knew walked up and said hello, and Wesley was with them and met him. And we became best friends. I mean, for 7 years, we went to lunch together every Friday, all 4 years of school. But anyway, so he's just a wonderful man of God. He is brilliant, and he is the best dad that you will ever see. We have a lot of adventures in our house, including currently owning 6 chickens that roam our yard, and we live in the city limits. I think it's my husband's way of saying, like, I told you I wanted to live in the country. So we're just smashing the two. And then we have 2 children, our daughter Bennett, and then our son Ridgway. And Bennett is in 6th grade and Ridgway is in 5th grade. So it's her first year of middle school, and it's his senior year of the lower school, as they like to say. I said, good. I'm like, who taught you that? So we
That's awesome.
Just incredibly blessed.
So you take this journey, you and Wesley, you begin your life together, you finish your law degree, and now you're this attorney, and you found this interest in Washington, and you all of a sudden you ended up on Senator Shelby's staff as a young leader, right out of school,
So I'll try to give you the condensed version of that, and we can pick it apart. We can pick it apart later. But after college, went up there, and it was as deputy press. I was going to stay for a year because my father told me, "Don't you get sucked in to Washington D.C." And so after a year, I told the senator that I was going to head on back and head back to law school and make good on my promise that I wanted to do that. And he came back and said, "Why don't you stay and be my press secretary?" And at the time, that was the head of his press department, and there in his personal office. And so he was former chairman of intelligence, chairman of banking. He was a rising star on appropriations. And I like to tell people, I told him, "You pay me to tell you when you're wrong, and or when you have a bad idea." And I'm pretty sure this is a bad idea. But luckily he went out in that. And so I did that for several years. Then I went and worked as special assistant to the president for Dr. Witt at the University of Alabama. Then got married and moved to New England. And that's where my husband was playing for the New England Patriots. And then we moved back to Alabama and went back to law school with a newborn and an 11-month-old. So talk about interesting. And my husband went back and got his MBA. During that time span, that's where you mentioned earlier, you riding out a hurricane. That's where we, the day before exams, our 1L year, and the tornado hit Tuscaloosa, and we are blessed to be here for sure. Yeah. And then practiced law, moved to Birmingham. We did a rental house for a year, moved to Birmingham, and then practiced law in Birmingham and in Montgomery, and then did general corporate work and worked with some incredible people, Randall McClanahan and others there at Butler Snow, started Johnston Barton and Butler Snow, and then took a leave of absence to help run Shelby's primary campaign. So did deputy campaign manager and communications director. It was height of anti-establishment, if you will remember, and really wanted Shelby to get the credit he deserved in that election for all that he's done for the state. Then went back to practicing law, and then he asked me to come to DC, and so then went back up to DC and served as his chief of staff.
Wow.
So that's a condensed version of a lot of years.
Good. Now, here's an important question I have to ask out of all that. I know Wesley, and pro player and all that, but has he learned? Certainly, hopefully, he's learned, because he walked with you through Tuscaloosa. He's never said you can't do that because you're a girl, has he?
Oh, no, sir. No, sir. Quite the opposite. Quite the opposite.
I bet.
So,
I bet
he often jokes. He said, "I've met some tough people in my life. I mean, look at who I've gone up against on the line." But so no, not at all. He is incredibly supportive, and it's been interesting because we've gotten to do things and make moves, both obviously New England and Tuscaloosa and Birmingham and Montgomery, with his work, and then some moves with my work. So it's a great partnership, and I am blessed to have him.
You have just you've had quite a story, and it's only just begun. You're just beginning, and it's just an amazing story that you have. I have to ask you though, as you served on Senator Shelby's staff, chief of staff at one point, what's the most difficult thing you encountered, or one of the most difficult things you encountered while you were there?
Golly. Probably this day and age, and how quickly people kind of snap judge, whether it's on 24-hour news or social media, and knowing the work that that is being done in DC on behalf of Alabama, and trying to make sure that is communicated effectively. That's certainly a challenge. Obviously, I think making sure that you don't let your own insecurities limit your potential. I think oftentimes we do that. And for instance, I would have never thought that I could have been chief of staff, and not in any way anything that was projected from the top down. In fact, Senator Shelby has consistently been a champion for women in the workplace, and the things that his wife has done. First tenured business professor there at Georgetown, and so a lot of that there. But I think a lot of times we think, well, but I could never do that kind of thing. And so I think not letting your own insecurities limit your potential was probably one of the biggest things, because you have to remember you've earned a seat at that table, whatever table that is, and you got to take it. You got to take it, and you've got to sit down and see where you can move the ball from that point.
Good night, and yet more wisdom from you. I love that. Don't let your own insecurities limit your potential. You're brilliant, Katie. I love it. So you end up, that's where you are. You're leading and you're helping. Now you serve as the president of the Business Council of Alabama, helping our state from a business perspective, and all of us small business leaders and mid-size and large. You're out there fighting the cause for us. Give us just a quick overview of how are things going now that you're there in that position, and you haven't been there very long, but how things
long
going?
enough. So I've been here in January 2019, and so this will be December. Will be 2 years, so we're getting there. It has been a unique challenge in many ways, both trying to kind of right the financial ship and make sure that we get everything moving in the right direction. Also, too, building coalitions and partnerships. I am a big believer, and I tell people when I talk to them that relationships matter. And so rebuilding those relationships, you could be the smartest person in the room, you could have the most resources, you could do what, but if people don't trust you and they don't respect you, which are the two things that I think relationships are built on, trust and respect, then you're not going to be able to accomplish everything that you need to make things around you better. And so really working on building those relationships, and I think we've done a really nice job for that here. And hopefully through that, we will create an environment where small, medium, and large size businesses can flourish. And I will tell you, sitting around the dinner table with my dad, with my mom and dad, it was very apparent to me growing up that what happens in Montgomery and what happens in DC affects the bottom line. And so we have to have people that are fighting for our job creators so that we can continue to move people and products and continue to make sure that our economy flourishes and our families are fed. So that's what we're doing. And we're trying to make sure that Alabama continues to be a great place to do business, so that all of its people will be better off as a result.
Wow, that's a great vision. It's incredible.
Thank you.
It's built on relationship. What's next, Katie? Is this your dream job? Is this it? Does it stop here, or is there more?
Well, I believe you can't focus on the next. You have to focus on the now. And it's kind of like as we move into college football season, you can't focus on a game two games from now. You got to focus on the one you're playing this weekend. So I'll tell you, so right now at BCA, we are focused on being the best we can be, creating the best environment that we just mentioned. And, I think we're in the first quarter there. So we'll see when this game finally wraps up what's next. But right now, this is my focus, and I'm focused on making it the very best I possibly can.
I tell you what, I interview a lot of leaders. I work with a lot of leaders, walk with leaders across the world. And you're one of the best of the best. I will tell you, I'll put you up against anybody.
Larry, thank you.
Wonderful story you have. And thank you for understanding the importance of relationship and walking through failure and really choosing to make a difference with your life. You are an example for so many, not just, and I'm going to go out and say, not just women. I mean, you're just a tremendous leader, and the fact that you're a woman is important, but certainly not defining for you. You're a tremendous leader in all aspects. I want to ask you one more question before.
Yes, please.
All right. So there are a lot of young leaders who are they're trying, they're out there, they're trying to figure it out. They're trying to think through, how can I lead? How can I accomplish some of the things? How can I be a Katie Britt, if you will? Give us some nuggets for the aspiring leader that's listening to this podcast.
Absolutely. Well, I will say be empowered by those people around you. Learn, never stop learning, never think that you know it all. Seek information in all ways possible. So be empowered by those around you, but also be empowering. And I think that might be one of the biggest things, is to make sure that when you're given an opportunity, that you find a way to give that opportunity to others. So it is imperative that you not only, and I tell people all the time, you've got to do your job and do it well, or, I want to see that, but then I want to see, how can I help you grow? So don't think that you've slipped through a door and, there's only one seat. Find a way to prop it open and bring others along with you. And I think that you are so much better for it. And so is the organization or the entity or the group. If you're making sure that everybody is reaching their potential and everybody has an opportunity for experience or growth, if they're willing to buy in and work hard. I would also say be unafraid to fail. We talked about it earlier. It teaches you some of the most incredible lessons that will prepare you for the moment to succeed. I also think looking, in different work environments or in life, you will have people that treat you in a way, or treat a situation in a way that you maybe see as unfavorable or not correct or whatnot, instead of being frustrated by those things. Because I think particularly the younger workforce can be very easily, I say, learn from them and put them in your filing box, because one day, if you work hard, you will be in that position. And when you're in that position, treat people how you wanted to be treated. Don't forget, use it as a catalyst to be better. And let me see, I guess just be you. Have the courage to be you. In this day and age, when we see images flash in front of us, or we, get 140 characters or whatever it is now, I can't keep up. I think we're very pressured to conform and to say or do or look a certain way. You will never reach your full potential if you're trying to be anybody but yourself. So have the courage to be you, and I promise you that courage is contagious.
Wow, Kate, amazing. I just have no idea how you do it, but you just have given us today so many truths, so much leadership, good leadership stuff. It's no wonder that you are doing all the things that you are doing, and I want to thank you. Thank you for not only leading with your head, but leading with your heart and understanding how those two are connected in all that you do. You truly are making a difference, and you're making this state of Alabama and beyond better because of your presence and because of your leadership. Thank you for giving us your time today. Katie Britt, you're amazing.
Oh, hey, thank you, Larry. I tell you what, I love being on here. I love our state. I love our people, and I'm excited to see what all we can do together.
Love it. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.